All righty. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Satsang. So good to have you all here. This is so great. So this moment is all that is. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. All that ever exists, we could call it now. We could call it what's happening. We could call it this. And I'm being literal. I mean, exactly what's happening is all that's happening. But of course, for me, this moment is insufficient. For me, this moment is not enough. So its strategy is to seek and seek and keep seeking and never find. That is every seeker's experience. Oh, maybe I find for a minute, but never lasts. And so this satsang is saying, you're not that one. You're not that seeking energy. That seeking energy is just part of this moment. It doesn't mean anything. Now, the me will say otherwise. The me gives it great meaning. Everything I think is very important to the me. So there's no hope for the me. So here at Satsang, you won't get any strategies. You won't get any paths. There's nothing to do because you already are what you seek. You already are freedom itself disguised as this moment. And this moment includes everything. So freedom can show up as pleasure, pain, or neutrality. It doesn't make it any less freedom. You can think of it like a different flavor. So sometimes it can be sharp, intense, repetitive, annoying. Yes, you're so free, you can be annoyed. Basically, you're annoying yourself. Right? If there's only one thing here, there's no second. Non-duality means not two. If there's only one thing here, then that's the joke. That's the cosmic joke. It's all you. So whether you like it or hate it, it doesn't change the fact that it's all you. But if you recognize it's all you, then you won't argue with it. You'll stop arguing and you'll stop wanting this moment to be different than it is, because this moment can't be different than it is, because it's already the way it is. And so the me will come in with, yeah, but this moment is not enough. Yeah, but I don't feel it. So the me imagines it knows what freedom is. It has a concept. So if there's just what's happening, that doesn't leave room left over for a me, does it? Right? If there's just what's happening. So if you don't like what's happening, that's what's happening. If you're enjoying satsang this evening, this afternoon, whatever the time is, that's what's happening. If you're feeling a little rambunctious, a little bit antsy, that's just what's happening. If you're feeling a little depressed, it's just happening. But here's the kicker. It doesn't mean anything. And the first two letters of me, right? Meaning, spell the word meaning, M-E. Me, there's no such thing as a me without meaning. So let's go into this. Let's take a look at what beliefs are running. I want to hear arguments. Oh, Michael, you're full of crap. How can you say such blasphemy? So feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself. No question is off limits. There's no such thing as a silly question. I promise you, there's actually no such thing as a mistake. You can't mess it up. There's no wrong way to do life. There's also no right way to do life. No wrong way, no right way. And the me is always trying to get it right. So the me gets a double whammy. As a me, I'm trying to get life right because I don't want to screw it up. And then after the fact, I feel guilty because I could have done it better. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. So if you're a me, there's just no rest for the weary. You're always coming and going, trying to get it all to work. It never does. So where are we at tonight?
Well, I was dealing with boredom today. The me was bored. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was just shuffling around and puttering, and nothing had any meaning. I was just puttering.
Yeah, boredom can arise.
Yeah. And it was like, it obviously wasn't enough because I was like, well, is there something I could be doing? And I couldn't think of anything, I just.
Yeah. So that was
very interesting.
That was just what was happening.
I know.
That's it.
And now I'm not bored because I'm here on this call.
Oh, good. Well, we're serving some purpose.
Yeah, but I just because I'm retired right now because of COVID. I'm used to.
Okay, stop. Don't listen, Joan. Because if you're at satsang, it's sort of like when you go into hear a comedian at a club, he can say whatever he wants because you're coming to the club. So if you come here, Joan, then I am assuming you want to get work done.
Well, yeah.
So if you go into story, right? If you're going to go into story, you want to stay with what's present. So that's one of the things we noticed at satsang was people were going into story. And the request here from me is that you keep your questions about the topic, not about your family, not about who's upset at work, not about this, that, and the other. But right now, how can I be free? I don't feel free. I want to be free. That's my interest.
Then it's called a thought jail, thinking jail.
Yeah, but if you look, Joan, you'll see it's empty. There's no one in there. There's no one inside your body. Let me just get that out. There is no entity, no being, no me inside the body.
It just feels like it's in between my, in my brain somewhere, but I don't know where.
So is that okay? That feel, you know what I'm saying? That's
It feels like it's behind my eyes, but I don't know what's there.
right.
Gray
But
matter.
what I'm saying is whether you feel like a me or not is irrelevant. If you feel like a solid me there, that's just what's happening. It doesn't mean anything. It just means a feeling of a solid me, a contracted energy is arising. But
Mm-hmm.
it also can go all by itself like a cloud, right? So if a feeling
Mm-hmm.
to me is there, it doesn't mean anything. So what? Who cares? The key is, are you taking ownership of it? Are you thinking you're the me? So if you think you're the me, then yeah, that's going to be suffering. But if you know you're not the me, you're clear. That me comes and goes, and you don't. You don't come and go. You don't move. This is movement in
We
non.
could put this in a,
Sorry, Dan? Hello?
yeah, I think my internet is screwing up.
Okay. Well, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, well, full speed ahead. I was just going to say that, I mean, we could put it, who was it that was bored this afternoon? Was that Joan was bored? And is that you?
I was observing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was
So
observing
there
it,
some,
and I kind of said, "Well, it'll pass," and I just just started to putter. But I was aware there was like, don't know what to do. Don't know what I want to do. Don't know what to do.
yeah, so that sounds like Joan's story. But where are you? That's the question to look at.
Observing it all. I was.
Is there some? Yeah.
So
Are you,
less identification. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't taking it that seriously, but I was just aware that there was. Didn't know what to do, and well, it'll pass.
right now, is this Joan trying to work this all out and figure it out? Is that Joan's story? Or is that you? Is there, in other words, are you the same? Joan's story is your story or not? Or is there that space that, as you say, observing Joan?
Yeah,
Go
there
ahead.
there was a space.
Well, right about what,
And
right,
I was just
right
watching
now.
I was watching like clouds going by,
Mhm. So when Michael says there's just this, where's Joan's story in just this? Just all this is right here.
I don't know.
Okay. Is there anything here that's not totally filled up with Joan's story?
In other words, is there something here now present that doesn't need a story?
I don't know. I feel like I'm observing something.
So I'll put this out to everybody. Is there something present that doesn't need a story? So if I say, oh, I went to Ralph's today, that's a story. But is there something that's present that is storyless right now in this moment? Doesn't require a belief. You don't even need to think about it, and it's still here.
Well, Michael, the only thing I can say is a sense of that I am. It's the only thing I can say with nothing attached. Or that I. I'm aware. I'm aware.
So, so I'm on board with the first part, not the second, meaning the am, but not the I, because we don't know who the I is. When I say I'm here, and I know this is a very common inquiry, who am I? But I'm saying when I look, it's empty inside. I don't find an I don't find anything. And if you look, what's looking out your eyes right now, in other words, instead of focusing on objects, put your attention on what's looking out your eyes, that energy, that awareness that's looking. It doesn't have anything in it. It doesn't have an I in it. It's completely empty. And in the nothingness, in the emptiness right here, it's filled. It's filled with this moment, but we miss it. We miss this moment because I'm seeking for a better moment. And that's suffering, because this is the only moment there is. Or as Dan said, this is just what's happening. So there's only ever what's happening. And the me doesn't hear that, because the me has its own plans. The me knows what life needs to be for it to be happy, rather than just allowing life to appear, allowing this moment to be as it is. How freeing is that? How lovely. What more do you need? Faith?
Michael, I'm thinking about the title of a book called Whatever Arises, Love This. You know that man, don't you? Who wrote the book?
Khan, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Kahn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
whatever arises, love this. That just this morning, that popped into my head, because I'm trying to not live in the story in the head, and I'm trying to just stay with the body sensations, and and whatever arises in the body, the emotion, accept this. How does that fit with what you're suggesting?
Well, first of all, let me say that about 12 years ago, I hosted Matt Kahn right behind me in this apartment. He was here and he was amazing. I really like Matt. Having said that, and again, Faith, and this is for all of us, you have to figure out what resonates for you. So I'm going to say something a little different than Matt. I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong. I'm not saying there even is a right or wrong. I'm saying go with what works for you. You feel into it and decide. I would say that asking you to love whatever rises is suffering. Because what if something arises that you don't want to love? Like somebody crashes into your car. I think an honest reaction would not be to love that.
Well, I'm thinking it's about acceptance, really. Like,
okay, so see if you can hear the difference. It's a very subtlety, Faith, so let me run it by. I'm saying whatever arises is as it is. Whatever arises. So if love arises, beautiful. If a rainstorm arises and rains out your picnic, that's just what's happening. I'm just saying there's just what is. The idea that you are supposed to walk around in this cloud of love and love everything, that, I think that's a fantasy, to be quite honest.
yeah, I think I interpreted it not so much as love this, but as accept this, because I feel as though what's been holding me back is my resistance to stuff. And it's about time I let go of all resistance. And I thought, whatever arises, I should probably say, whatever arises, accept this, would be more like what I was thinking would keep me out of the story. And I really feel for me that to connect with some body sensation, when something comes along that I don't like happening, something that, then to stay with the body, because otherwise I go into stories.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Thanks, Dan.
I think what Matt might say is, whatever arises, see it with your heart or with your body, like you just said, but not with your head.
Yeah.
Because when you see it with your head, that's not love. That's when you start the story and you say, oh, I know what's arising and I know it should be different. There's all that. That's the building of the story when I go into my head.
And that's
So,
that's the suffering, isn't it? When I'm in my head, I'm suffering.
Yeah. Yes. See it without knowing it, without telling, when I say I know, that energy of knowing takes over and it's very solid, and then that's the story. Because then I'm the knower and I know what needs to happen and what should happen and what isn't happening and all that.
And all about control.
Yeah. Control, right.
Yeah.
So in a way, love what happens just means be with it without the control.
Yeah.
However that feels.
That's right.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah. And not to deny what Michael was saying, because I think, there's value in that too. It just, these things can be held in different ways.
Maybe multi-dimensional or something, I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm not discounting Michael's offering.
Both and, not either or.
Yeah.
This may help too, Faith, because I was meditating.
And there's something to be said for.
You want to go, Dan?
No, you go.
Okay. I was just going to say, I was.
I think my connection is kind of weird.
Okay. So I love Michael's interpretation. He talks a lot about the universal and the personal. So this may help you, Faith. I was meditating the other day and I was thinking about this idea of the heart. I've been doing more stuff with my heart. So like the heart is universal and the head is personal. And so what it did is it just sort of created this cool symbolism of like, it wasn't like an emotion. I mean, it could be an emotional thing, I guess, too, but it was more of the universal being, if you will, the Tao. It was more of that heart. Yeah, it's love too, obviously. But what it did is it sort of immediately, it wasn't a resistance. It wasn't a blocking out. It just was a shifting of awareness to the universal, which we can say is the heart, which is love. But it was nice because then the head all of a sudden became duality or the story or whatever you want to call it, right? So that also, using your terminology with going into your body, because I know you talk about that a lot. That's something you might want to play with too. I found that really helpful. The heart is universal and the head is personal.
Yeah, thank you. I'd never thought of it that way.
It's funny, Faith, as you guys were talking, I was just thinking about a post I did yesterday, actually on love. And it was that love, this is love silently exploding. So that's what I mean about the me can't do love. You've heard me talk about Dr. Shankar, where he said the me is not capable of real love, just minimal hate. So the me can't love. It's always got a gripe. Even when it gets what it wants, it doesn't last. So the love is already here. You don't have to make the love. The love is the space. This loving space is so loving that it allows for everything. There are no rules to this. There's no logic to this. Anything can happen at any time without notice. And if you doubt it, just look at the pandemic. This is not knowable. And the problem for the me is it knows, and it knows a lot. And that knowing is a limitation. That knowing, believe it or not, is as prized as it is in our world. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is king. It's actually a limitation in what we're talking about. It's a knowing something seals it off. Okay, I know what that person is, so I have a concept. I'm done. I can move on. And it deadens our experience of this moment, because now I've got this story of concepts that I'm involved with, and I've completely lost touch with the natural reality that's ever present.
It sounds a bit like the knowing blocks the sunshine.
Yeah.
Puts us into darkness.
Perfect. Perfect. In fact, think about a thought as a little blocker. So because your attention's on the thought, it's not on the sun.
Yeah, thoughts are like clouds.
Yeah. Yeah. And they get our attention. And we can most people spend their entire day going thought to thought to thought to thought, because the silence seems useless. There's nothing in the silence for me. Why would I be interested in silence, says the me, because it can't do anything for me. So that's why the me sees this moment as a stepping stone. It doesn't see this moment as everything. It sees this moment as I'm on my way. So it has to hit you that I'm on my way is a fantasy. It's a dream. You're not going anywhere. You've actually never moved. I know this is outrageous, but this is movement and non-movement simultaneously, and I can't explain it. It doesn't make sense how this could be everything and nothing at the same time. It either resonates with you, something in you goes, yes, yes, or you'll still seek. You'll say, no, this isn't it, and keep looking. That's fine too. There's nothing wrong with seeking. For me, it just got too painful.
Hey, Michael, someone said to me today, it's like we're all living our lives as if today is a practice for tomorrow.
Yeah, good, Ron. Yeah, that's so true, right? This isn't the real deal, but when I'm ready to go on stage, so like this is the dress rehearsal.
Right.
But that's bullshit, right? This is it. But the me judges it. The me says, this?
This says, I don't know what I want, but I just know I don't want this.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is the me. The me is always doing that and projecting into the future when things will be right. And so that's just the posture of the me. Every me is that's the shape it takes. And that's where the me is never where it is. It's always somewhere else.
And Michael, when you said that the thought, you jump from thought to thought, it's more than just jumping from thought to thought. It's jumping from thought to thought around in the pattern of addiction. In a cycle of addiction, we are jumping from thought to thought. Round and round we go.
Yeah. And do you notice, Faith, some of those thoughts we've had for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, same thoughts. That's how, it's just like this, guys. The mind is like a hamster wheel. If you go to mind, all you can do is spin. And life's still going to do what life does. That's the thing about being in your head. It absolutely doesn't help you. You just suffer. And what's going to happen is going to happen anyway.
That was your cue, Joanne.
No,
Okay, I blew it. Sorry, you busted me not paying attention. My me got distracted.
We were just calling for the hamster wheel.
oh.
That's right.
Oh, but I like my fish photo. It's from Michael's Facebook page.
Yeah, you can leave the fish. Can you tell us what it says? It's a little small.
Oh, I thought I got it off your page. It says, one of them says, I believe in water, and the other one says, I don't believe in water. While they're swimming in water. Just in case that point was lost on anyone.
Yeah, that was the most important part. Thank you for mentioning it. Absolutely. So I'm looking for what's right here. And the reason I don't recognize it is because why? It doesn't look like I imagine freedom should look.
But this,
As if me, sorry, Faith, I'll just say as if me could know what freedom, right? Me doesn't have a clue. Can you imagine the audacity that me thinks it knows what freedom is? What chutzpah. Chutzpah. All right, go ahead, Faith.
oh, I was just going to say, there's great relief when you realize, that just what's here is what's here, is it. There's great relief in that because you're not, on the hamster wheel. And then you can fully enjoy what's here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't really pay proper attention to it because you're moving on.
Yeah. Now, when I say just this, I'm being literal. I mean, my fingers going like this, your body there, this satsang, this Zoom, the sound of my voice coming through, all of that is being done for you. The ability to hear, you're not doing, you're hearing. There's no button inside that body that you're pushing to be able to hear me. Your hearing is always on. It's always on, and you didn't do that. Your seeing is freely given to you. What did you do to be able to see? The me takes all this for granted. It's so funny how the me just takes this for granted and says, it spits on it. It says, this is not enough. I want more. You little whiny baby. And then the me has a tantrum if it doesn't get its way, right? Isn't that the experience in your head? Then the me has a meltdown. And you think that's you. You're not the one doing that. You're observing it. Let it have its stinky meltdown. Who cares? What does it have to do with you? That's the mistake. You're identifying with the meltdown and you think that's you. It's not. It's never been you. That's an assumption. That voice in the head is you is a lifelong assumption, but it's not true. You know how you know you're not your thoughts? Because when you don't have a thought, you don't disappear.
So it appears that I am my thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm silent, space. the louder, which they've been really loud lately, and the more thoughts there are. And like you said, it's just a circular pattern. It's really quite boring. And my attention, this body's mind or whatever's attention has been so scattered lately. I can't even, sometimes I try and focus on a thought just to follow a pattern, a memory of the past or something. And it's so scattered that I can't even focus on it. So that drives this person more crazy. Can't really focus on the thoughts, can't really just, and then there's a disengagement. And then there's, so I don't really know who I am.
Yes,
I have no idea.
that's
Just
right.
feel like I'm this crazy person today.
Well,
I feel like a crazy person.
so that's Joyce. The Joyce character can feel like a crazy person, but are you Joyce this in the story? Is that really you?
Now I'm watching this crazy person.
So that would be the love, Faith. That would be the love rather than being annoyed by the crazy person, maybe some compassion.
Jeff Foster, who Michael knows, Jeff Foster is a teacher, non-duality teacher. He talks about loving the wild animal in ourselves and all the other wild animals we get to play with in this life thing. But he calls them wild animals. It's very funny.
Yeah, the poet does that too. What's her name? A well-known poet. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Makes me feel better.
Good. Thank you, Joyce. Anybody else?
Michael, I was just thinking that when there's no resistance to what's happening, there's peace. So really, and that can be whatever's happening, whether that's a crazy person. If there's no resistance to the crazy person, there's peace. And reminded me when you spoke before, Muji used to say, talking but not talking, hearing but not hearing. There's that both happening at the same time, awareness that there's really stillness even when there's movement. And that's what I deal with a lot with people, is their resistance to what's happening. That's really everyone's problem.
That's right. And that would be the me.
Yeah.
I don't like what's happening. That's the me's drumbeat. But if you notice, it almost never likes what's happening the way it's happening. It's always got little improvements, little ways it could be better. So as long as you're in comparison, that means you know something. You see why knowledge gets you in trouble? Because I know that there's something better than this. Well, you don't know that there's something better than this because this is all that's happening. That's just complete imagination that you know there's something better than this because this is all there is. So you can't get closer to what is, and you can't get further away from what is. Anybody else?
I want to throw out a word that jumped out when you were talking, Joyce, that you might play with this one too. The word is curiosity. It just feels more like a Taoist kind of approach where you're curious about that person or that part of you. And I know it's tough when things are ramped up or you're in a tricky situation, but for whatever it's worth, that might be another word you just play with, is just I like Diane's or who was analogy about the wild beast. I can't remember, but anyway, whoever talked about the wild beast, was that Joanne? But
Yeah, it was me. It was me talking about Jeff Foster.
yeah, I did a workshop. It's funny with Jeff Foster and Esalen. It's funny you mentioned it. It's been years, but try the word curiosity, Joyce. That might be a cool way to really step back and step out.
Nice. I like that, Alan, because I realize that's what I do. So where's Joan? There's Joan. Okay, so let's talk about boredom. Instead of getting upset that you're bored, what if we try Alan's suggestion and got curious, really curious, genuinely curious? Like, what is boredom? How does that happen?
It's me playing the role of wanting something better at this moment, right? We are having, or the me has a model of how this moment or how anything ought to be. And it also never gets fulfilled. So, and it wants more, but once it gets it, it's not enough.
And also the curious throws you into the universal, and boredom is the personal. It's back kind of the head and the heart, right? So I think that's the other reason I love that word curiosity. It sort of throws you out of the personal and more into the universal. Thanks, Yoon.
Yeah, thank you, Yoon. Very nice.
Yeah, Alan, thanks for curiosity. I like, it's this word curiosity. It's like we suddenly come to a place within ourselves that is just noticing, and we're curious about whatever is happening. We're not judging it, we're noticing it, or even being a little curious about this part of us that's appearing. And we're not judging it, because if we judge it, it means that we're pushing it away. And that's kind of going back to like not accepting this part of me that's, you know, that happens, that comes on every once in a while.
I want to say something about judgment, because Faith touched on it last week about judgments, and I think it's, you know, a good one for us to take a look at. It's pretty universal. So can we see that when the mind has a judgment towards another, that the mind is completely making that up, and there's no way to know if that judgment is true? So if you think somebody's an idiot, somebody else, you know, could have a completely different opinion. And it's so funny how we mistake the mind's judgments for the truth. It's not the truth. It's just in your dream. It's just going on between your ears, nowhere else.
Well, also judgment. I mean, if we're in the universal, if we're in the ocean, right? If we're all one, judgment immediately obviously becomes a personal thing. So judgment just turbo boosts you into the me, as opposed to if your awareness that we're all one and you're coming from that place, any judgment, whether it's about somebody else or even yourself, right? It immediately puts you into duality.
Mm-hmm. Now here's the paradox. Okay, you ready? Is everyone sitting down? Even judgment is it. So there's only it appearing as everything. So it can appear as judgment, it can appear as a compliment, it can appear as literally anything. But it's the same thing that's not a thing. We don't know what it is. We don't know what's doing this. I have no answers for you. And that's the problem, right? Me wants answers. The seeker wants answers, damn it. And at Satsang says there is no answer for this. How can you explain this?
It also, it wants to know that it know. And that is, it leads back to suffering.
Yeah, very good. That's a common one. To know that I know. So I want to know that I'm nothing. And as soon as I know that I'm nothing, or as soon as I know that I'm unknown, right? See how ridiculous that is? I have to know that there's only unknowing. That's the mind. And it's doing its best. So the mind's not the problem. The problem is when we take ownership of the mind. You don't own that mind. That's not your, those thoughts are not your property. That's why you get in trouble every time you get involved with them, because you won't keep your cotton picking grubs off them. So again, you can't mess this up. You're already what you seek. You're already the perfection. You're already the wholeness. You're already the unlimited. It's the mind's ideas and stories that we're still attached to, that we still believe that are just keeping us from this. But if there's something in you that resonates with this message, that less is more. And then if less is more, nothing is everything. And that's a paradox. It doesn't make any sense. But this doesn't make any sense. And you know what? Life doesn't have to make sense. And that's what the mind can't handle. This does not make sense. And it doesn't have to. Yeah.
Like homeopathy, you know, something is more effective when it's diluted hundreds of times. You get to the essence of what it is.
And I'm saying there is no, it's like layers of an onion. You'll just keep peeling forever. There is no center. In fact, that was Jeff Foster's first book. And one of the first non-duality books I ever bought about 10, 12 years ago was, it's called Life Without a Center. And so, Alan, if we say the center is the personal, so life, but without a center, without a personal me, trying to pull the levers and the strings and get what they want. As Paul Hederman said, the party doesn't get good till after you leave. Any other comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Well, just that last night I listened to a podcast by my old a spiritual teacher. I've been to a lot of satsangs with him, and I listened to a podcast, and I don't know what's happened to me, but it was like at the end of it, my head was full of words and stuff. And I thought, that's not what I want. So it was sort of like, I mean, he's been very helpful to me in the past, but I've gotten to a stage where I don't want more stuff in my head. I don't want to try to think things through. I was just left with this feeling where I just wanted silence. It's like I wanted to withdraw, and that silence was a preferable option. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, no, I understand. That can happen, guys. You can resonate with a teacher for a while, and then suddenly, and that's what happened here, as I've talked about. For, you know, I've hosted Rupert Spira and I followed Muji and Eckhart Tolle, and I just kept seeing concepts and I kept going deeper. And finally, for me, I just saw everything as a concept. Every word hit me as a concept. If I can think of it, it's a concept. And so that's not it. So I discard it. And I finally realized you can't find it because you are it.
Yeah,
Whereas,
thanks. Yeah, thanks, Michael, because yeah, that fits with sort of what, because I'm thinking this is very weird. Yeah, anyway, go on.
thank you. Thank you, Faith. Anybody else?
Well, this is different too, because there's no answer really. Like, you know, I find myself still wanting the formula, the answer, the awakening to happen now. And so maybe if I look here, there, and I feel the same way, I'm tired of, I don't seek everywhere anymore. But there's still not really an acceptance of this either. It's just
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah. So as you know, and you won't be shocked by this, Joyce will never awaken.
Oh. Well, that's okay, as long as there's a recognition of what's already there. That's
It's
fine.
a trick question statement.
There it is.
No, I got it right away.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Yeah.
Joanna comes in like the voice of God. It's a trick question. Well, you can add that after every thought.
That's true, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
Thank you, everybody, so much for coming to
Thank you.
Satsang. Big shout out to Diane and Alan for the donations. Really appreciate it. You guys, I'm always available. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can email me. I'm on Facebook. We have our Awakening community on Facebook, which you're welcome to. It's free, and I post stuff every day. I'll try and get this out on YouTube in the next 24 to 48 hours. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Bye,
wonderful
everyone.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.